Today we will reflect on the Dasaka Uttiya Sutta, the 10th discourse on Uttiya. This is from Anguttara A10.95. This sutta has been translated in SD 44.16. This is a short sutta for us to reflect on the importance of asking questions and also asking the right kind of questions. Before we know how to ask the right kind of questions, obviously we begin by asking wrong kinds of questions. But in the sense, asking any kind of questions, right or wrong, with the desire of learning the Dharma is a very important way of progressing on the path of wisdom. Of course, it's difficult to know when the question is right, when the question is wrong. And this is where the teacher is very important. If the teacher is wise and compassionate, then we guided in the right way, and our wisdom will grow accordingly, with the patience of the teacher and with our own patience in learning and asking the right questions, or rather in fine-tuning ourselves and knowing what questions to ask. An important way of learning is reflecting on what we have asked, reflecting on the answers we have got, and we put this together. We find there is something we do not know. Then we ask about that area which we are not sure about. I've often related how when I was very young, a young teenager, very interested in Buddhism, it took me a very long time to understand the teaching on non-self. So I keep asking the same question: how can we exist without a soul, a self? So this monk from whom I asked this question, or rather to whom I asked this question, was very patient, and I kept asking the same question a number of times, and he kept answering them in great detail, so that in due course I had a better understanding of anatta, nature of non-self. Here in this sutta, we see someone asking the wrong questions, but the Buddha patiently kind of tried to teach this person in his own way. The name of the person, the questioner here, is Uttiya. We don't know much about Uttiya except that he was the son of a Brahmin of Savatthi, and he did many good things in past lives. Even when he was born as a crocodile in the river Chandabhaga, it is said that he served to carry the Buddha then, but by the name of Siddhartha. Not our present Buddha, this is the Buddha Siddhartha, same name but a different Buddha. This was the 19th Buddha, 19 of the 29 Buddhas, and he's number 9 from our own Gautama Buddha. So he took this Buddha across the river. So he's done lots of good deeds even as an animal. So in his last life he meets our present Buddha and asks various questions, and in due course, of course, became an Arahat. This is one of those questions which do not make him an Arahat, but is a valuable lesson for us to learn. There is another sutta called the Arahata Uttiya Sutta, S4716, which records how he became an Arahat. So let's see what happens here in the sutta. The 10th discourse on, or to Uttiya, A10.95. Then the wanderer Uttiya approached the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and friendly exchange was concluded, the wanderer Uttiya sat down at one side. Sitting thus at one side, the wanderer Uttiya said this to the Blessed One. He asked the Buddha, the famous 10 questions. And let's see, how did the Buddha respond to him? So Uttiya asked, "What now, Master Gautama? Is the world eternal? Only this is true, all else false?" Right? So he's not sure, he's a learner, he's a wanderer, wandering about looking for answers. So he said, is this the real teaching? The world is eternal? Then the Buddha replies, "Uttiya, it has not been declared by me, the world is eternal. Only this is true, all else false." So this time the Buddha did not remain silent. He did answer. He does answer, but he tells Uttiya, "I do not teach such a thing." So in other words, the answer is neither yes nor no. So Uttiya, of course, went on to ask all the other 9 questions. Let me summarize here because these are very familiar questions. Question 2, is the world not eternal? Then the Buddha says, "I don't teach such a thing." Third question, is the world finite? Fourth question, is the world infinite? Here we see question 1 and 2. In fact, all these 4 questions talk about the nature of the universe. The first 2 questions are about the nature of the universe in time, whether it's eternal or not eternal. Then question 3 and 4 is also about the universe in terms of space, whether it's finite or infinite. The Buddha says he does not teach any of these things. Then the next set of questions, question 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, they are a set, okay? 4 questions. So Uttiya asked the Buddha about the body and the self, okay? Or the body and the soul, if you like. Or mind and body, if you like. So, is the body and the self the same? Buddha said, "I don't teach such a thing." The next question, are they different then? Buddha says, he doesn't teach such a thing. Then what about both the same and not the same? He says, "No, I don't teach such a thing." And then question 8, in that case, is it neither the same? No, not the same. These are the 4 possible states of truth according to Indian philosophy. Again, the Buddha says, "No, I don't teach such a thing." So then comes the last 4, number 8 rather. 8, 9, 10. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 10 rather, sorry. We have 4 questions about the nature of the Tathagata. Here Tathagata refers to any kind of saint, not necessarily a Buddhist one who has passed away, a kind of concept, the saint. Okay? Whether this saint, when he passes away, does he exist? That's question number 7. The Buddha said, "I don't teach such a thing." Question 8, does he not exist? Again, Buddha says, "No, I don't teach anything, I don't teach this." Number 9, both exist and not exist. The Buddha again says, does not teach anything about this. And the last question, neither exists nor not exists. Again, the Buddha says, "I don't teach such a thing." So all these 10 questions, the Buddha, although not silent, says yes, does not teach anything about these 10 questions. Okay. So in that sense too, he's silent on those 10 questions, in the sense that he does not deal with them. So then the sutta goes on, Uttiya repeats all the 10 questions. So how come you don't answer all these questions when I ask? Well, what then has been declared by Master Gautama? What then do you teach? So now the Buddha replies, and this is the key teaching, the important teaching. Uttiya, through direct knowledge, I show the Dharma to my disciples for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the passing away of pain and displeasure, for the gaining of rightness, for the realization of nirvana. Right? So the Buddha says, whatever I teach is for us to be free from suffering. So that is the teaching. These 10 questions are speculative. They have, in a sense, they got no right or wrong answer. It's something like quantum physics, depends on how you look at things. And they don't really help us in our awakening process. So it's not answered it. That's the reason the Buddha does not deal with these 10 questions. They're speculative. Well, in an important way, this kind of answer is very useful because it also refers to the way scholars study this academic subject called Buddhism. But in a sense, to the scholars, there's no right or wrong answer about Buddhism. It depends what kind of Buddhist you are. So the scholars are not really interested what is right and wrong about Buddhism. So you find they will study anything that is to be studied that has the label Buddhism. Of course, not all scholars are non-committal in this way. There are some scholars, and they're very valuable to us, who do understand that if we do study something like Buddhism, you have to practice it. It's like learning music. You have to love music. You have to play music. You have to know music in order to talk about music. And these kind of scholars have a lot to contribute to our understanding of Buddhism, especially if they study early Buddhism. But most scholars, they take it as a profession. In other words, they have to earn a living. And to earn a living, they have to make themselves relevant. They have to write papers, they have to discuss things, even talk bad about Buddhism. One easy way to be relevant is to talk bad about Buddhism, is to write something's wrong somewhere, or debunk another scholar's idea, and so on. So as long as scholars do write something, do talk something, or come up with a new idea about the Buddha or about the Buddha's teaching, he's relevant. In a sense, it is not an easy life. It's something you have to do. And in a sense, the scholar is in constant denial that this is something he has to do. It is those who are really, who look within themselves and say, look, I got to be really open and honest with this field. As I said, these are the really, truly valuable people from whom we can learn a lot about Buddhism, because they're also Buddhist. So again, as I said, there's so much to read about Buddhism today that you find you can spend your whole lifetime reading all the Buddhist books, and there's no end to it. And none of these books, even if you have read all the books, you still would not be enlightened. You might find some people get very excited when they find a new book, or they find a new teaching, or some saying they like online, and they kind of try to tell everyone about it. And that's about all that is Buddhism to them. So it's not very helpful, in other words. So again here, we can look at this kind of approach as very similar to the 10 questions. They are speculative, they are very random, and they're not very helpful in our growth as an individual, in our progress on the path to awakening. Alright, so here Piya is kind of wondering, what does the Buddha teach? He rejected all these 10 points, because obviously if any teacher in the Buddha's time, he thought, wants to talk about religion, they must address one of these 10 points. He must be under one of these 10 categories. The Buddha said no, he rejects all these 10 questions as being speculative. So after the Buddha says that all that I teach is the way to get out of suffering and attain nirvana, it appears as if that Piya was not too happy, because this is his reply was this. He says, but when Master Gautama, through direct knowledge, shows the Dharma to his disciples for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the passing away of pain and displeasure, for the gaining of rightness, for the realization of nirvana. And this is the question he asks: is the whole world let out? Is the whole world liberated by this? Or only half of it? Or only a third of it? So it's almost like a sarcastic response He says, okay, this teaching you've given now, does it really save the whole world, or is half of it, or one third? Right? Again here, we can ask ourselves, is this a useful question? Or is it just a rhetorical question that Uti has just been sarcastic? We're not sure about this. But we do get a helpful hint in a moment, because this is the time when you find there's like a tension here. The Buddha is silent, and here is this Uttiya who is kind of totally lost. Right? So this is like some Greek tragedy when the audience wondering what's going to happen next. And just something, a device called Deus Ex Machina. In other words, when the world seems to be really at great odds and we don't know what's going to happen, there seems to be no way out. Deus is the Greek gods. He will come down, he will appear from the sky and appear on the stage, and through this machine. In other words, he's brought down like by a crane, and he will appear on stage and then change things. So that Deus Ex Machina here is Ananda. So Ananda is always there, sitting, listening, and when he feels that it is his time to intervene for the benefit of the audience, and also to keep the good name of the Buddha, he would do so. And that's what he does. Okay, so this is the closing part of the sutta. When this was said, the Blessed One was silent, so the Buddha wouldn't answer such a question by Uttiya. Then it occurred to the Venerable Ananda, let not the wanderer Uttiya fall into any bad false view, thinking that indeed when I ask the recluse Gautama the supreme question regarding everything, he sets it aside, does not answer it. Is he faltering? This would not be good, but painful for the wanderer Uttiya for a long time. In other words, if Uttiya has a wrong attitude to Buddha, he is cutting off his Dhamma seat, so to speak, and that wouldn't be good for him. So I mean, he would kind of be having some negative thoughts, so that won't be helpful at all. So here we see Ananda being very compassionate, and the sutta continues and said, then the Venerable Ananda said this to the wanderer Uttiya, in that case, also Uttiya, let me give a parable. For some of the wise here understand the meaning of what is said by the meaning of a parable. And this is called the parable of the frontier city. Suppose also Uttiya, there were a royal frontier city with strong bastions and a strong encircling wall with an archway that has a single gateway and a moat around it. The gatekeeper there, clever, experienced and wise, keeps out strangers or those whom he knows not, lets in only those whom he knows. He patrols along the pathway all around the city so that he would see no cracks or cavities in the wall, even large enough for a cat to pass through. Right? So he makes sure that the city walls are safe, the city is safe. Now he might not have such a knowledge. So many people have entered or left the city. But here he knows this much. Whichever large creatures that enter the city or live it, all of them have to enter or live through by this gateway. Even so, Uttiya, the Tathagata is unconcerned with the whole world, whether the whole world is led out by this, or only half of it, or only a third of it. So here, by this parable, Ananda is trying to impress on Uttiya that he's teaching the Dharma. You don't have to count people. That's not the way it works, because we're talking about awakening, where things go beyond numbers. So just like the city, the gatekeeper does not make a tally of people coming and going out. It is someone else's task. All he does is to make sure the city is safe, and those who go in are safe. In a sense, those who go out also are safe. So the city here, of course, is nirvana. So those entering the city, it's like water flowing to the river, the river water flowing to the ocean, and the river water loses its name, merges with the water, right? So it loses its old name. It's called the ocean, right? So that is nirvana. So the end of the sutta, Ananda says, this is what the Buddha teaches, right? Whoever had been led out or liberated from the world, or are being led out or will be led out, they all have abandoned the 5 mental hindrances, the mental impurities that weaken wisdom. In other words, they are able to meditate or practice mindfulness. Their minds have been well established in the 4 focuses of mindfulness. It's meditation that liberates them. And they have truly cultivated the 7 awakening factors. Okay, so these are the, you might say, like stages of progress through meditation. Thus, they had been led out of or liberated from the world, or are being led out, or will be led out. So you ask the Blessed One the very same question which you have already asked, only that you have put it to the Blessed One in another way. Hence, the Blessed One did not answer you, right? So in other words here, what Ananda is gently trying to tell the question that he asked is a question just like the previous 10 questions, which has no answer, it's not very helpful, right? So, and this is with some elaboration, what the Buddha is trying to teach, right? So here, Ananda mentions the 5 mental hindrances, and if you want to read more about it, you can look, there's a special chapter called Nivarana, SD 32.1. If you want to read on the 4 focuses of mindfulness, Satipatthana, there's a whole volume on this, on the Satipatthana Suttas, and this is in volume 13, right? 113, you have the first volume is the introduction, and then you have the Satipatthana Sutta, and then the Satipatthana Sutta. And on the 7 awakening factors, you can read up the Bojjhanga Sila Sutta in SD 1015. So this is a short reflection for us to how to ask questions, how to increase our wisdom and walk along the path to awakening. So once again, by way of reminding ourselves, we need to ask questions, especially when we meet wise and compassionate teachers. Even if we ask the wrong questions, the teacher will guide us. And or we could ourselves reflect why the question was wrong by carefully examining the answers we receive and putting things together. And then we find there's something else we have not yet known. And then we ask about that, what we do not know yet. And from there we build up our wisdom. So with that we end today's reflection. Once again, that's a short reflection. In this moment of peace, may we recollect what we have learned from the suttas, reminding us to ask the right questions. Even if we do ask the wrong questions, we reflect on what we have asked, and from there we begin to understand better how to ask questions that would benefit us, and so that we grow in wisdom. Reflecting in this way is very good mental karma. With the power of such karma, may we be well and happy in this life itself, studying the Dhamma, living happily as Dhamma practitioners. And also by this good karma and many others that we have done through practice of generosity, keeping the precepts, and so on, may we have the strength and commitment to aspire to attain spiritual liberation, at least stream winning in this life itself. In this moment of peace also, may we send out our loving kindness to all our teachers, our loved ones, others who are seeking the Dharma, that they may be well and happy and blessed with good health and strength, and meet good teachers and discover the Dharma for themselves. May even those whom the Dharma have not touched see the Dharma for themselves in this life itself. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.